Hi everyone, my name's Bruce Mortimer. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations at Macquarie University, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Backpack to Briefcase series. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I would also like to pay my respects to the elders, both past and present, of the Gadigal people, and extend that respect to other Indigenous people here tonight. Backpack to Briefcase is a series that the university's offered to recent graduates and completing students for several years now. It's a series that those who've attended have reported has helped them to build confidence, to extend their knowledge, to grow their graduate network. And it's a series that we're really pleased to be able to continue in 2015. Tonight's Backpack to Briefcase topic is presenting the best of you. Our speakers will share how we can all make memorable impacts through our voice, our body language, and our personal style. But before we start, I'd like to go through some housekeeping. Could I ask, if your mobile phone is in reach, would you mind just turning it to silent? There will be refreshments after tonight's discussion, so when the proceedings have finished, when we've gone through the Q&A, and we've of course got the lucky draw prize coming up later, there will be more opportunities for some additional canapes, for some drinks, and of course for more networking. A key reason why we run these activities as a university is to give you opportunities to meet your fellow alumni. I hope, speaking of the lucky draw prize, I hope you have had the chance to drop your business card into the bowl on the way in, because there are some great prizes, including from our Macquarie Graduate School of Management, MGSM, a voucher to attend what's called the Innovation Lab, a short course executive education program, which is valued at over $3,000. I'd like to thank those of you who submitted questions at the time at which you registered. Greg and Nathan will be attempting to cover these during the course of the conversation, but we've also got time at the end for some additional quick Q&A from the floor. So have a think about what you might ask as the conversation goes on, and don't be too shy. There's only about 200 people here, nothing to be worried about. So to introduce tonight's speakers and to get the discussion going, I'd like to introduce our facilitator, Greg Smith. Greg is a Bachelor of Economics graduate from Macquarie from 1988. He is currently the Chief Commercial Officer at the Co-op. He's an accomplished C-level professional across a variety of companies and products, which has successfully grown through strategic, operational, financial, marketing, partnership, and digital initiatives. Greg's also an adjunct lecturer at Macquarie's Department of Marketing and Management, and has served as an executive in residence supporting career and professional development for Macquarie students. Please welcome Greg. Our guest presenter tonight is Nathan Gaffney. Nathan is a personal impact guru. As Director of Pitch Perfect Training, Nathan specialised in soft skills professional development, focusing on the areas of presentation skills, charisma, and social intelligence in the workplace. She has worked her magic on CEOs, senior management, and staff from numerous firms, including Allianz, Ford, Toyota, Citrix, Macquarie University, and many, many more. Nathan regularly appears on TV, including Nine Network's mornings programs, as their resident etiquette expert, commenting on all aspects of contemporary manners. Nathan is a highly dynamic, engaging, and motivating presenter, and her belief is if people are laughing, they're learning. So I'm sure we'll all enjoy tonight's discussion and have more than a few laughs. Please welcome Nathan.
Thank you.
I will now hand over to Greg and Nathan to discuss presenting the best of you.
Bruce, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Good evening, Nathan.
Good evening, Greg.
We've been having an absolute ball of a time while you guys were on your way down. And the crossover between Nathan and I has just been incredible in terms of our life journeys and getting us here. We both have got completely different career paths, but the similarities are amazingly, ironically, similar. Yeah?
Very, very similar, yeah.
What we're going to do tonight is there's a whole series of questions that have been pitched in by you guys. I've got a bucket load of questions for Nathi. And please, when we get to the Q&A bit, jump up, get involved, because it's your night. No question's a dumb question. Leave that to me. I've got the dumb questions. And we'll go from there. But the first question I'm going to kick right into, because we've got about 50 minutes of talk time, and then we get to Q&As. So to set sort of that expectation from day one, Nathi, when you get nervous, right? You go to an interview. How do you control your nerves? Because tonight, I don't get nervous anymore sitting up here. I don't know, maybe I'm just brain dead. But I don't get nervous anymore. Why is it that people get nervous when they go to job interviews?
Well, if we have a look at what nerves are, if we look at the full term, nerves are nervous energy. So it's unexpended energy, which can manifest itself, if it's not actually expressed and released, it manifests itself in all those things that develop when we're nervous, when the stakes are high. Sweaty palms, shallow breathing, butterflies in the stomach, and then what happens is, as a result of shallow breathing, we stop thinking. There's a reason why flight attendants tell you on an airplane, before fitting an oxygen mask to your child in a case of emergency, make sure you've got oxygen yourself. Because what happens when our brains don't have oxygen? Everything stops. So breathing is the primary and most fundamental thing that you must do to help alleviate nerves.
So rather than sitting in some sort of, breathing position while you're in front of an interview, how do you control it in a way that, I told you we're going to have a bit of a laugh. How do you control that breathing? Because, you're sitting there, you almost hyperventilate. And I've never had anybody fall over and hyperventilate in front of me, but I've seen so many people literally fall apart personally. Their breathing's really fast, their answers are really short. So how do you control that breathing? Because breathing is really, really, really important.
Okay, the other part to answer the other part of the question, Greg, is to prepare. If you're winging it, if you're not prepared, then your anxiety is likely to be higher. You haven't studied for an exam, it's like, I haven't studied, So the first trick is prepare, know what you're going to do. And part of the preparation is physical preparation. If you know that you are prone to getting anxious, practice breathing, practice deep, slow, abdominal breathing so that you actually get a sense of what it feels like in your body. One of the things that I get people to do in my workshops is they lie on the floor, this is very relaxing, and you put a book on your abdomen and a book on your chest. And you lie there and you just notice which books are moving. If the one on your chest is moving, this is where you're breathing. So your breathing is shallow, and that's going to increase your heart rate and increase your anxiety. What you want to be doing is breathing abdominally. And once you get a sense of how that feels in your body, then you can recreate that anywhere. If you're sitting in a waiting room with other candidates, you can just place your hand on your abdomen and just feel, where am I breathing? Am I breathing, or am I breathing here? And slow, deep breathing, not, because that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to hyperventilate and pass out.
Should I sit in the waiting room? Should I get the old mobile phone out and look at my Facebook page?
No.
Because that'll calm me down.
Yeah. No, that will check you out. Really, your interview starts, the interview process starts when you enter the building. The way you greet the concierge, the way you ask for directions, the way you conduct yourself in the lift. You have no idea from go to woe who you might meet. You might just be passing the HR director. You might be passing the CEO. You don't know. So your interview starts the minute you enter the building, and it doesn't stop until you've left the building. So everything you do, you should be focused on the task. And when you're sitting there, No Angry Birds. No Facebook, no gramming. I'm just going to gram this up. Put it away. Focus on the task at hand. Look over your CV. Think about the questions that you might be asked. Go through things in your mind. Take this time. Preparation is the key.
So if okay, I'll flip to a number of questions here. And I'm winging it tonight as well, guys.
Yeah, but you're winging it with about 25 years worth of experience. It's different. It's a bit different.
Thank you for telling people how old I am. But
No. Since you were 5.
But you've totally taken my train of thought, but that's okay. If I'm just about to go into this interview, and it's a group interview, yeah? How do I conduct myself in a group interview? So I've got the breathing right, I've got my research right, I've got the preparation right. How do I go into a group interview that there's always going to be one guy or lady who's going to be the happy. There's always going to be the one person who's going to be the tough. It's kind of like a good cop, bad cop TV show, movie things. There's always
like
going to be
an episode of Big Brother.
Exactly. There's always going to be the dumb guy in the room kind of thing, me. There's always going to be all these other guys, people in the room who are potentially asking you questions and rapid firing. So how do you do a number of things? How do you keep eye contact? How do you keep body posture? And finally, how do you keep the conversation flowing?
Okay, so what we're talking about here is first impressions. Does anybody want to take a snap guess at how long it takes us to form a first impression? 5 seconds? You wish. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. The thing is, our reptilian brain, it's this thing called the primacy effect. And basically, our instincts are still that of hunter-gatherers. So our instincts have about 100,000 year lag on our environment. We are still in hunter-gatherer mode. So when we see something in our peripheral vision, we're thinking friend or foe, is it animate, is it inanimate, can I eat it or is it going to eat me, is it fight or flight, is it going to be friend or foe? And translate that to now, within 2 seconds, people will judge you on your likability, on your competency, on your perceived level of education, your social status. All of these things will be sized up immediately. So if you have that little time to make a first impression, you better make it a good one. Because science tells us that to recover from a bad first impression is really very difficult. Because what happens is, once you've formed an initial impression of someone, every subsequent contact that you have with that person is filtered back through that initial first impression. So it's vital that you get it right. So if we're talking about meeting someone for the first time or meeting a group of people, it doesn't matter if you don't have the biggest, brightest, most confident personality in the room. And in fact, introverts, there's a long list of well-known introverts who have very, very high charisma levels. But it's very important that you can present yourself well. And body language, handshake. Forbes Business Magazine in America says that the number one way of making a bad first impression is with a bad handshake. So that is the very first thing that you have to nail.
So speaking of bad handshake, when I shook your hand tonight, wow, sorry, it wasn't like that, but it was...
That was the buzzer I had in my palm.
It was a good handshake, yeah? And I've met so many people over the years with handshakes when they're coming in to see me, and it's like, whoa, that's like a dead cadaver. This person's got so slippery hands. They like shake you with one finger almost.
This is the thing.
And it's kind of like weird.
Yeah. And you don't say anything, do you?
I really want to sometimes,
really want
but
to.
I don't.
Here's the
I squeeze the hell out of their hand though.
Here's the thing about the handshake. People are more likely to tell you that your fly's undone or that you've got toilet paper stuck on your shoe than if you've got a bad handshake. I don't know why it is, but because we're in a room full of friends tonight and we're all on the learning curve, what I'm going to get you to do is turn to the person next to you. I'd actually like you to turn to the person on either side of you, so you might have to turn around. But I'd like you to shake the hands of 2 people and introduce yourselves. So take a couple of minutes, turn to the person next to you or behind you or in front of you. Shake hands, introduce yourselves.
Hello, I'm Greg. Pleased to meet you.
I'm JD. Nice to meet you.
How are you, JD? Hi, I'm Paul. How are you, Paul? Pleased to meet you. I'm going to have some fun here.
Nice.
G'day, how are you going?
Elliot, nice
Pleased to meet you. G'day, Greg. How are you?
Eva.
I think we've started a party. Okay, so what I want you to do for the purpose of this exercise is I want you to remember what that handshake was like. So now Greg mentioned a couple of the dodgy handshakes. So let's look at what constitutes a bad handshake. So first off, what would be your number one fail for a handshake?
I must say, just handshakes just now, damn good. Handshake bad, number one fail would be, if I can just put the hand out, it's the queen handshake.
Oh, so that's the fingers, the fingers like only.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Yes.
yeah, that sort of thing.
That's like, I don't really want to touch you.
Yeah, the other handshake is a blokey bloke handshake when he does this, sticks the finger there.
Right.
It's like, there, that's like, well, leave me alone.
Or the dominant.
Oh, yeah, g'day, how you going?
Yeah.
Yeah, the roll over handshake.
Yes, yeah. The wet fish is
I don't-
one that you
I
get.
just
See, the
get
wet,
this, yeah.
the wet,
Yeah,
the
no. Oh,
limp
that-
wet
yeah.
fish, or the cupped palm.
Oh,
See,
I've
that's
not had that
kind
one
of
before.
it's kind of like the fingers, but it's like it's when they're just like they're really just
Oh, you just
trying
feel
to
like
get
that,
away
yes,
from
yes.
you. Or
I've never had anybody like that.
a limp wrist,
yeah, no.
or there's the really cheesy politicians one.
Oh, no.
But perhaps the most awkward one is the handshake that when you finish talking,
They don't stop.
and all of a sudden,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
just
yeah.
holding hands. Okay, so we've got the limp fish, we've got the knuckle crusher, we've got the fingers only. So what constitutes, how can we nail a good handshake? Can I have a volunteer?
Woohoo.
Yes,
Come on down.
straight up the back there.
Give him a clap. Come on, guys.
down. Awesome. I didn't know, I thought you might be reluctant, but it's good to see you fully interactive. Hello, what's your name?
Hi, this is Min.
Min. Nathan, nice to meet you. Okay, but no, we've already done that. We're going to do... So, Min has kindly offered... Here, let me put this here for you. So, number one is remember your posture. Okay? So, posture is... And it simply is... And look, and this is the thing, I'm getting off track a little bit.
Oh, that's
but
okay.
it is something that happens particularly for girls. Once girls hit puberty... They grow boobs. Can I say boobs? Sorry, it's Macquarie. And they go like this.
Yeah.
Because they want to cover up what they're not comfortable with. Or they don't grow boobs and they want to cover that up too. So many women move into adulthood and competency and experience in their lives still standing like that. Nothing will disempower you further. And men, clasping, which is covering something up, and traditionally, men are taught to stand up straight and put your chest out, and this can come across as quite stiff and awkward and unnatural. So just, what's wrong with your hands hanging at the side? Because what that does is that gives you an open body position. This is very protective. It's like, oh, don't come near me. I'm smiling, but I'm not. I'm really just trying to keep myself guarded. So a nice open position and face each other. It's like, hello. Is not what you want to be. You want to meet someone face on. And really important is eye contact. The eyes are the windows to the soul, exactly. And it's very important to developing rapport and trust that you are capable of looking someone in the eye. And if you aren't, if you find it uncomfortable, I urge you, practice it. Practice it with the people that you do feel comfortable with, And so that you can take that out into your professional life, because it is vital. So we've got an open body posture, we've got eye contact. Now look how far Min and I are standing apart, okay? It's around about an arm's length. So if I come... What's wrong? I've used Rexona. But if I'm like that, that's a little bit reluctant. So there's this space, this invisible space that we feel is just instinctively right. Okay, so then we extend our hands. Now, the hands are very important. Web to web and palm to palm. Okay? Almost like you could feel someone's pulse but don't. Oh yes, he is still alive. Okay? So, and the firmness, you don't want the limp fish. This is a little bit limp, a little bit soft. That's it. I want to feel, because a handshake is all about making someone feel secure with you. And if someone's leaving you flying out there in the breeze, you don't feel like they've got you. You know when someone says, hey, I've got this. You feel confident and comfortable with them. And that's what you want to project with your handshake. So, and it's a couple of pumps and a bit of a nod and release. Okay? So, eye contact. Smile. Smile and look at the person with warmth. A physical open posture, web to web, palm to palm, bit of a nod and release. Okay? How does that sound? And now also what we do find is a lot of young ladies shake hands with a very soft shake. You must step it up, girls. You've got to use a firm handshake. Nothing will disempower you and take away from your sense of authority and professionalism. And I know some of the questions were like, I look young for my age, people don't realise I've got a PhD and 15 years experience, what can I do? The first thing you can do is step up with a confident body angle and say, hello, I'm Nathan, nice to meet you. Okay? All right, so thank you, Min. Thank Min. You've got a question, okay, hit me.
Yeah, I realized that like this is bad posture, so I do that, but I still feel like a little bit uncomfortable. So can I do like from like this? Because I noticed you have done that when you're talking.
Oh, have I?
Yes.
Oh, very good observation. I didn't even know that I did that.
Yeah, you do that, left side.
I'm being pretend.
Thanks, Lynn.
Hang on, you weren't the plan. Very good.
You can see if it's recording.
There's one heckler
Yes,
in every audience.
I know. Webinar, hello. Yes, I'm totally out there, totally vulnerable.
So my question is like when I'm standing, if I don't feel confident or comfortable like this, can I change my hand style?
You know what the problem is? I've normally got a drink in one hand. I think that's... I'm joking. That's a joke. That's a joke. It is cocktail hour. If you're uncomfortable in a social situation or you're feeling nervous, when you're talking to someone, use hand gestures.
Yeah.
Use hand gestures. Have one hand here. Pick up a drink. Pick up a canapé. There's lots of things that you can do with your hand to minimise the appearance of nerves, but to still appear relaxed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, very much.
Yes, but be aware just things like this and like this, and I don't have pockets, but hands in pockets is an obvious sign of discomfort. But you were very observant. Thank you.
Very much.
Well
Thank
done.
you,
Thank you very
Min.
much.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. So now, what I'd like you to do is do the handshakes again, but this time, feed back to the people whose hands you're shaking and tell them if there was anything different and what was different. So take a minute to shake hands again, remembering eye contact, smiling. Oh. Min?
Just get a runner. That's one of the guys.
Thank you.
It's fun. Okay, how
Thank
did we
you.
go?
Okay, would someone like to give us a little bit of feedback to see whether things had changed in themselves or in the hands that they shook? Yes, please.
Say it out loud because the whole world's watching.
Oh, fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, so Gillian and I shook hands, and the first time I shook hands with Gillian, it was a little bit gentler, whereas the second time it was much more self-assured and firm.
How did that make you feel?
Very secure.
Thank you, and I did not feed her that answer.
This is like an Anthony Robbins session. Well done.
Oh. Thank you. Did anybody else have any other experiences they wanted to share
great.
before we move on?
That was a good one. One more. No? Well
Yes.
done. All the way.
Like sometimes we meet some senior manager in the corporation and they are naturally have that power position deliberately to show off their status. I didn't mean you, Craig.
I shake normally.
So I guess like when they're showing their power position, what would you usually do? Do you usually probably lower your position a little bit, or you usually come back with a powerful handshake?
Good
The
question.
trick is, that it's a very good question, thank you, is to match the level of firmness. That's that. If you're shaking the hand of someone senior or a client for the first time, and they have a gentle handshake, then soften it up a little bit, not too much. And if they have a firm handshake, then match it. It's very important. And can I also say that people often ask me about who should extend hands first. Don't wait, just move straight in with it. And it is also non-gender specific. So in a professional situation, in a modern contemporary situation such as we all exist and live and work in, it's absolutely fine for women and men to approach a handshake and to instigate one. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's move on. You touched on a bit before about looking young, and I've had this problem all my life. I did when I was young, and in fact, I'll take you on a journey. My very first job in life was actually at the Australian Stock Exchange, which is kind of spooky coming back to this place 20-something years later.
Still you're looking young.
Yeah, but I joined this place and I looked 12, seriously. I was very young and I was 19 going to university. I went part-time to Macquarie. Got my job here as a trainee financial analyst, AKA photocopy boy. But the key was, I looked really young, yeah? And I dressed to the, 80s fashion, which was light grey suits with a pink shirt with a knitted tie. God help me, looking back at photos. But I thought I was cool. My question here is, how do you, if you do look young, yeah, there's a lot of people in the audience here who are, I can't believe, I'm 25, holy cow, you look 12. Sorry, I'm just getting old. But it's amazing. You've got incredible knowledge, and every single one of you in this audience is a future leader of Australia. Yeah, you are a future leader of Australia. You're young. You've got knowledge. How do you overcome that in a meeting? Because sometimes it might be bias. Yeah, you might get someone who's a little bit older thinking, uh-oh, this person here is going to eat my job up in a year or two's time, number one. Number two, how do you overcome that with the way you dress as well? So 2 questions barreled out of this. First one, I look really young. How do I overcome that? And second question, how do I dress properly and appropriately to the interview?
Sure. Overcoming looking young, oh boo-hoo. That'll just happen in the passage of time. No, but seriously, if you're diminutive in stature, so if you're small, there are things that you can do. Depending on the type of industry and organisation that you're going into, the rule of thumb is dress for the job that you want. Dress 1 or 2 positions higher than you're actually aspiring for. or aspiring to. So suit up and boot up for meetings always, particularly when you're younger. A beautifully cut jacket gives an air of authority, and minimise jewellery. I'm talking about for women here. But for men also, a well-cut jacket and a shirt and tie is the best way. Also with hair, keep it conservative. It's fabulous to have long, lustrous locks. If you want to keep your hair long, once again, I am possibly targeting the women in the room here, but keep it back, tie it back for interviews, or tie it up. Long, flowing hair. Number one, if you're small, it will just drown you and you'll be swamped by it. And they're not interviewing you for a shampoo commercial, they're interviewing you for what's inside your head, not what's on your head. So keep the hair tied back, wear a smartly cut jacket, and we talked a little bit about the posture before. Make sure that you're not diminishing your size by apologising with your posture. Practice standing on 2 feet. Often what feels normal to us when you've stood like that for so long is not actually natural for the body.
See, that's schoolyard standing.
Yeah. And most of us never grow out of it. And when we're nervous, we do this. And when we're not really sure what we're saying, we do that. And then we do that. Oh, it's the I need to go to the toilet stance. So if you find yourself doing any of these, I challenge you, point your toes in the direction that you're looking and practice standing like that. It will feel weird, but I assure you it's natural, and it's like having the foundations regrounded. What happens is it'll help you stand up straighter. It'll help you breathe because you haven't got a kink in the hose, and it will help you think clearer. Also, another thing that people who are perceived as being very young often fall victim to is a light vocal tone. And that often comes from upspeak and not being sure of your own authority. So absolutely, and we haven't got time to go into the whole vocal side of things, but if I came out here and talked like this, and I spent 40 minutes answering every question like this to Greg, and trying to impress upon you that I really know what I'm talking about, and I'm just really trying to get you to agree with me, it kind of undermines the gravitas and the importance and the authority with which I'm speaking to you. Would you agree? So if you notice that you have a lighter tone and you notice that you upspeak, get your friends to listen to the way you deliver what you're saying and practice. It's all about practice. Practice standing up straight, nice jacket, hair tied back, good posture, and lowering the tone.
Stay there, I've got another question.
Oh, do I need to speak?
No, you can sit down for this one. Has anybody in the audience read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Wow.
Then you should.
I read this book when I was working for the stock exchange. I also read the book, I used to catch a long train journey to the city. I read the book, The Art of War, and I read The Art of How to Win, the book of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And people thought I was a complete loser sitting in my little carriage every day reading these different books. But the book about how to win friends and influence people was written back in the 30s, was it?
1938,
1938,
I think it was
yeah,
first
an
published.
amazing guy, Dale Carnegie. You've got to Google him, get the book, look at it. I'm sure you can download it somewhere. But it's written so long ago. It's all about presentation style, about posture, about dealing with people. Are those, let's call it, oldie worldy things still relevant today?
Great question. I believe that they are now more relevant.
How?
We've spent possibly the last 20 years, business has spent the last 20 years focusing on the tech race. You've only got to follow the trajectory of Microsoft and Apple. It's all been about the race for cyberspace. You know, you had to have a computer first, then you had to have a website, and you had your own URL, and then social media came into it, and then there was MySpace, and then now there's online shopping, now there's online banking, now there's Twitter, and organisations have social media departments, and there's whole digital departments. It's been a very aggressive, progressive race for equality in business. And everyone, for the last 20 years, everyone's been looking, what are they doing over there? Well, we've got to have that. What are they doing over there? Now the playing field has somewhat levelled. And I don't live and work in the tech space. I operate in the human space. But the dust is settling a little bit. Everyone's got all of those platforms in place. And so now people are turning and saying, well, where are we going to get the edge in business? How do we separate ourselves from this very level playing field? And it's come full circle, and it's come back to the human factor. There's a big buzzword out there now called, and you would know this, Greg, the customer experience. Okay? And that is all about the human interaction. And Dale Carnegie says in his book, this is what he just says, just be nice. We were talking about it before, that nice was almost clumped with beige. It became business relationships will be fought right here. You know, banks will now say, when you talk to us, you will talk to a real person. Because so I think it's much more relevant than it ever was.
Let's take all of this and move on a little bit further. Skype interviews. More and more interviews are now happening on Skype. A number of my colleagues that we've actually employed were on a holiday somewhere, and they said, I can't make it, but I can Skype in on an interview. How do you handle the Skype interview? Because it is a totally different environment. You could have some background noise, you could have, the dog running behind you or whatever it might be, or you could be in a university library somewhere. How do you handle a Skype interview?
Do you mean a Skype interview for a job interview?
Yes, with a job interview in mind, and obviously with body posture, all of the things you're talking about today. But how do we take that to the non-personal environment?
Okay. First of all, once again, it's all about preparation. If you've set up a Skype interview as a preliminary or a secondary job interview, you know it's coming. So it would behoove you to take yourself to a quiet place and make sure that the light is facing you. No one wants to. You need to have light. People need to be able to see you. So have the computer screen where you're facing the light, so the person speaking to you can clearly see your face. Don't be lounging in a lounge chair. There's a rule of thumb that television presenters see, and you will see them on the morning show. They wedge their bottoms back into the seat and they tilt their bodies. Greg's not, he's just so relaxed here. He's just having a lovely rest. But the idea is you tilt your body about 5 degrees past 90 degrees. So you're angled slightly forward. Because what does that do? If I'm sitting like this.
Like me.
Like Greg. What's that say? Yeah.
No, I really am interested. I'm listening to her.
But Greg's not being. But let's make it clear. Greg's not the one being interviewed here for a job. If you're being interviewed for a job, this is not you. This is the I'm dialing it in. Wedge your bottom in the back of the seat. Tilt your body angle slightly forward. Have your head back and hair off your face and the light in your face, and be somewhere quiet.
Okay, what about hand, I've been on TV many times, and I used to have my own TV show on Channel 10. It's hand movements that I think Lynn asked the question before, hand gesticulations. How much hand movement should you use when you're in a little TV camera? Because if you've got hands flailing everywhere, it could be too much. If it's no hands, it's just a talking head, not enough. Where's that balance?
Well, there is a balance. It's a balance that I've found difficult to find myself. I'm a little bit of my father used to say, okay, say all of that without your hands. I'd be like, well, Dad. I'm a natural gesticulator, and I have had to tone that down. A little bit of gesticulation for emphasis is a very powerful thing. But yes, you do have to be aware that you are operating within a certain frame. And so a little bit is good, but you don't want to be obstructing your face, and you also don't want to be seen as being completely rigid, or what you don't want to do is be checking your mobile phone while you're Skyping. Because I don't know if anyone's ever done that to you, but you know when someone's looking at another piece of technology.
Eyes left, eyes right. And what about having your mum come in and do some things in your bedroom and drop stuff off? That's probably not a good thing. You should actually just lock her out.
Look, you know, if you can just flag with mum that, Mum, I'm actually got a job interview, and if she was like my mum, she was like, you go, because I want you to get that job and start paying board.
Or get out of the house.
or get out of the house. So yeah, brief the people that you're living with or that you're around that it is a job interview. Take the time to prepare.
Okay, changing topics again. Body art. Okay. Most millennials, it's extraordinary. I've actually taken an investment. I was having a bit of a joke. I've actually invested in a clinic that is actually tattoo removals. Okay, so this clinic actually takes people's tattoos off. My question, has tattoos become such a norm, or are they going to be a corporate positive or negative? And if you do have a tattoo, what do you do when you go to an interview? If you've got a full, amazing, sleeve, as one calls it, what do you do?
Really, we talked about first impressions, and people will size you up. You don't know the environment into which you are going. You don't know what the parameters are. So always err on the side of caution when it's job interview time. Cover up body art. If it's a piercing, what you can do is certainly ring the organisation and say, what is the protocol surrounding that? But personally, I would remove piercings and cover tattoos, at least until you get the job. And then once you're in there and you're absolutely wowing people with your expertise and your enthusiasm and you're part of the culture, then
roll up the sleeves and show them the tat.
Then maybe you can roll up the sleeve. But the thing with tattoos is, at the moment, it's just providing an unnecessary distraction away from why you're there.
Correct.
So if that's the first thing that someone will see, remember what we said, 2 seconds? And every subsequent interaction is being filtered back through that first. Oh, that's right, she's the one with the tattoos. So you want to minimise the distractions, and you want to minimise the differences between you and the interviewer or you and the organisation, and you want to maximise the similarities. So if everyone's wearing suits, check that out. Wear a suit. If it's Google HQ, if you're going into media or advertising or PR, and things are a little bit more relaxed and a little more flamboyant, then move into a fashion forward look, but keep it conservative. So just do your research, but body art off the table.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just wanted to cover it. Last question before I throw it open to everybody here is that, if you're of a non-English speaking background, there are a number of things that come out of this. Number one, in an interview, because that's a language barrier. And particularly for a lot of international students who come here and actually get residency and want to get jobs. Incredibly brilliant folks, but the communication is an issue. And then secondly, what about the cultural events? Because some cultures you come from, when you're actually socialising with your boss, you go out and get blind drunk with your boss. In Australia, you don't happen to do that. It all just depends on the culture you come from and how you relate. So let's keep it to the first part of the question. If English is not my first language, how do I then get the confidence we talked about before? How do I get that posture? How do I get that reason to employ me? Because I'm good. Academically, I'm the best in the audience. How do they get me, the best person for the job, just because I can't speak English? It may be prejudice in some way, shape or form by the particular group, but how do I overcome that?
Okay. The thing with having English as a second language is that that's already potentially compromising your level of confidence going into an interview situation, a job-seeking situation. This is where preparation, and I hate to say it, but you've just got more preparation to do. You know, if I wanted to do the city to surf, I'd have to do more running. I choose not to run. I choose a different sport.
Not in those heels, anyway.
No, these are cab to curb.
Yes.
But the fact is, if it is not your comfort zone to be talking and thinking and behaving in English, then you are going to simply have to work harder. So this is where utilising your friends comes in to play. Practice interviews with your friends or record yourself speaking and have them listen to it and identify the parts that they can't understand clearly. Now, whether it's vowels or diphthongs or consonants or particular words, what will happen is I do a thing called accent refinement technique, ART, and I have a small passage, it's one paragraph that I get clients to read, and it has every vowel, consonant, diphthong combination in the English language contained in this one passage. And I get them to read it, and what I can do is we are able to identify the 5 or 6 areas that are the sticking point. And what normally will happen is that if we tweak 3 or 4 or 5 things, so if we make an 8% adjustment to the way you're pronouncing things and placing your tongue and placing your lips and teeth on a pronunciation, it can actually have about a 50 or 60% impact in the ability for other people to understand you. And that can skyrocket confidence. So I urge you to, if you're not confident about being understood, use your friends and practice.
And that would also happen to people who are not overtly out there, who are naturally introverted as well, wouldn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Now, awesome. Let me just throw it back to let's turn the lights back onto the audience here. Any questions that we have? Because we've got a whole lot of ideas that we've been talking about for the last 50 odd minutes. I really want to get some thoughts out here really quickly.
Hi.
Hello. What's your name?
Hi. Sorry, my name is Sue. Thanks
Hi,
for
Sue.
facilitating, Greg, and thanks for the advice, Nathy. We spoke about building impressions, and we talked about building impressions face-to-face, as well as building impressions over on Skype in that crucial 2-second time frame. In terms of telephone interviews, where you can't actually see the person, you can't shake hands, what advice would you give to build rapport with the other person on the other side of the line?
3 things. Number 1 is be sitting in a good posture and smile when you speak to someone. If I say, hello, it's Nathy, or hello, it's Nathy, smiling changes your physiology. And people say it. They say, I can hear a smile. Okay, so that is smile and sit up straight. That is the primary one. But also match the pace and tone of the person who is speaking to you. If someone's very fast and they're talking at a high pace and they're quite excited and they've clearly got quite a lot of energy and you're responding like this, what you're doing is you're slowing the wheel, so you're going to get out of rapport. So if someone's slow and methodical, slow it down to their pace, match their pace to build rapport. I hope I've answered your question.
Great question. Very good question.
Yes. Who else? Did someone have a microphone?
Microphone down here. Let's
Sorry?
just point this one. Got a lot of questions here. We'll
Yes.
just and grab
Greg,
the
I
microphone.
might get you to point because I haven't got my glasses on. I can't see.
Grab the microphone there. We'll take this
Think
one
this
down
lady
here
here.
first, and you got
Okay.
the microphone second, if that's okay. Thank
Great.
you. The lady up the front. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lena.
Hi,
I
Lena.
have one question regarding being nervous at the interview.
Yes.
So you have talked about the being nervous before, but I do have one question regarding if you actually have interview during the interview. I have actually, suggested by one of my coworkers about, well, you can actually take your jacket off. You can ask, well, would you mind my taking my jacket off? It actually release your nervous energy to some point. So, before the interview, you can actually prepare a lot, but you're always gonna have concern like, have I prepared enough?
Yes.
But at the interview, do you have any other recommendations about how to release this kind of nervous energy at all, except for these suggestions give, taking
I
jacket off?
like that suggestion. Asking, do you mind if I take my jacket off? Because an interviewer will always say, no, please be comfortable, because that's what they want you to do. If you're going to take your jacket off, make sure you're wearing a shirt that doesn't show sweat marks, because you will be nervous and you will be sweating. So, so that would be
Don't wear
my
a dark shirt. Yes.
Correct. That would be my tip. But certainly smile and take your time in getting relaxed. The thing with interviewers is this: they want you to succeed. They know you're going to be nervous. They're used to it. So don't be afraid of being human. This is a massive, massive time in your life. You're allowed to be human. The stakes are high. So don't be afraid of saying, I'm really nervous. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gabriella.
Gabriella, hi.
Hi. We were talking before about English not being the first language.
Yes.
And I was actually just mentioning here to Joanna now. I never had a problem with eye contact until I came to Australia. I don't have a problem speaking and talking to people. But when I came here, I couldn't understand people. It just blocked me. And I'm
What
not
do you
sure
mean,
if
love?
other people have. Sorry?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We speak really, really fast, and we
That's
speak
right.
in so many
I couldn't even
colloquialisms.
understand
Exactly.
butter, or water, or things like that. And so for me, I kind of got used to read people's lips.
Wow.
So now I get myself all the time, instead of making eye contact, I'm looking at people's mouth whilst they talk. So I can read, their lips. So do you have any kind of advice on that? And I try to change, but, if I'm talking to someone and they speak really fast, I know I'm doing that. I know I'm looking at their lips.
It's a very valid point, and thank you for actually addressing that, because when I answered the question before, I was really talking about communicating from the perspective of being a non-English speaker as your primary language, but not actually understanding. I guess I'm lucky because I do speak quite clearly, and I don't often have people who can't understand what I'm saying. So thank you, that's a very valid point, because many Australians do. They've got a very immobile top lip, and it becomes very difficult to understand what they're saying. And then they can get their words out really fast, and they can just go on and on.
And we tend to shorten words down to, as you said, water. You go to America and you say, have a water, and they go, what? Yeah. Exactly.
I would say, Gabriella, address the elephant in the room. People, it's going to be obvious that English is your second language, and once you've met someone and you've introduced yourself and you've done the handshake, you've established the rapport, you've had eye contact with someone, when you get into the crux of the conversation, you can say, please excuse me, it helps me since I've been in Australia, I watch people's mouths to actually help me to understand and follow the conversation. So if I take my eyes off you and I'm watching your mouth, please, I'm not being impolite. It helps me to process and understand what you're saying. So I would just address that and put that out there. Once again, this is a human thing, and people won't, you won't be penalised for that.
Okay. I can see you're going to be mobbed later on. This is great. Gentleman there. Oh, sorry, lady. Yep.
Yes.
Hi. We've talked a little bit about group interviews already, but in terms of, I've been to quite a few, and I was just wondering if you had tips where to make, as an interviewee, standing out in a group interview. So, you know, sometimes there'll be different group activities and things like that, but do you have any suggestions of that?
Yeah, I think Greg's got some...
In our organisation, we run Australian Idol type interviews for a lot of our casual roles. We actually go from 300 to 800 employees twice a year. And what we want is a person who's young, vibrant, effervescent, someone who stands out from the crowd, but also goes the extra mile. And what we do is we literally get them in a room like this, and we start with 200 people, and we get them to do almost Australian Idol type games. If you can't stand on this stage, and if you can't talk, if you can't do the things we want you to do, this is for a particular role, by the way. This is a casual role to welcome people to the university during that back to uni period. It's extraordinary to see the change in those folks from the time they start to then they whittle all the way down through. So think of Australian Idol when they do those sort of Idol presentations. It's the strongest do survive towards the end. Okay, it's not all about voting, it's about how good they are to articulate, but also how well researched they are when they come to our organisation. They say, they're looking for a casual, they're looking for someone who has done this particular role before. A lot of them actually reach out to some of their friends who were casuals before and ask them, so what are they looking for? Yeah, and all of a sudden they go, good. And you can see those crew actually gravitate towards the top of that audience. And it's quite extraordinary how this does time and time and time again, and how we do it.
Can I add one thing to that? That's a fantastic observation from your perspective. I think from a bigger perspective, if you approach group events and meetings like you are the host, what's the first thing you do as a host when someone comes to your house? You greet them and you welcome them. The second thing you'll do is you'll say, put your coat there, put your bag there, the bathroom's down the hall, and you know, the bar is that way. You act as the host, and this is a fantastic tip for people who have to go to events on their own. Because what happens is, two things will happen. It gives you something to do for the first 5 to 10 minutes. You're like, right, okay, there's the bar, there's the toilet. So you're not turning up going, you're on a mission. You're doing the housekeeping. And then when you have to meet people, you've got information that everybody else who's coming into that space needs. And that is a perfect icebreaker. So think of yourself as the host and welcome people. Hello, it's great to see you, Greg. This is fantastic. The bathrooms are up there. And they will thank you for it. All of a sudden, team leader.
Excellent.
I hope that's helped.
Next question. Rapid fire here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Norman. It was nice listening to you. My question, you mentioned about human space. You interact more in human space. Someone who's heavily works in technological space, so to say.
Yes.
And then, like for myself, there's a transition and you have to work, so to say, human space. Yes. So what would you say someone, you know, basically for me, takes a bit of a time to transition into human space, like being myself, like presenting myself best. So technologically, I'm presenting what my work is to human space, so to say.
That is probably the best question of the night.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And basically, it all comes down to practice. So many of us we're having private conversations in public spaces, the way workspaces are now. There's no offices, there's no privacy. And so we're constantly having to have these private conversations in public areas. We're constantly having to readjust our personal dynamics. And so you're having a very private one-on-one conversation, and then you might be having to communicate to a room of 30. That changes something in your physiology. So you have to become aware of your body as an instrument of human engagement. What am I doing? How is my energy feeling in this room? And it is, you know, without sounding sort of too organic and hippy trippy about it, that's what it is. It is an exchange of energy. And you can feel, I don't know, Min did it instinctively. When I stepped into his personal space, he went, ooh. It just felt weird. And it's something that if you're not working with people, if you're working with technology, you're not working with people a lot, get out and practice it. So the world is your laboratory when it comes to this interpersonal stuff. So don't just think, oh, I've got a job interview. I'd better start thinking about my interpersonal skills. Think about it when you order a coffee, when you get onto a train, when you open a door for someone. Always carry this awareness of how your instrument is engaging with other people. So you're always working at it, Norman.
Eye contact.
Eye contact. And smile.
And all the things that Nathy was talking about tonight, I think sort of we just wrap it up now. But I think there's many more opportunities to talk to Nathy after this. So again, thank you for all the questions so far. But tonight we have gone on a journey. We've asked a lot of questions. Hopefully we've given you some real, I guess, fundamental tips to overcome nerves, to look at the way we handle interview situations, to dealing with different technologies, to dealing with different personality types, to dealing with the most basic thing of the greeting. Yeah, it's the old body language. Yeah, it's 101 stuff, but it's the most fundamental thing that we as mature folks just know. Yeah, and if you can listen and take from what we say tonight, and kudos to you guys for turning up tonight and picking this up, because this is the stuff that I didn't do. I had to learn the hard way, and the hard way, screw that. So basically listen to the people who are smart around you, the elders, so to speak, form your own opinion, form it and put it into your own world, and then you'll actually become a better person rather than trying to learn by mistake.
You can fast track it.
Totally. So speaking of fast track, I think that brings us to the end of tonight. Again, upstairs, some canapes and some drinks, but first and foremost, I'll hand back to Bruce.
Can we thank Greg and Nathy? I must admit, I actually didn't realise there were quite so many different types of bad handshake. So great that you've also had the opportunity to practice refining your own presentation. Lots of great insights, I think especially for those of you who are new to an Australian business setting, and I should say to our folks who are actually outside of Australia listening in, watching in tonight, have a think about, particularly around the body language, the personal space, the eye contact, the handshake. How do you filter that advice for your particular cultural context? Because there are regional variations. And I think what we've heard tonight is brilliant for the Australian context. So hopefully that'll all be really valuable for you in your professional careers. We do have a gift for Nathy and for Greg.
Thank you, sir. Cheers, thanks so much. Cheers. Good catch, wasn't it?
A show bag.
Yes.
Thank you, Bruce. No, thank you.
I'm sure they'll partake of that wine very wisely.
In moderation.
In moderation. So we do, of course, have the Lucky Door Prize. My colleague Jeff Hargrave. Jeff's our Alumni Relations Manager for New South Wales and is responsible for leading the Backpack to Briefcase series, also our Global Alumni Impact series. There's another event coming up here in this very auditorium on what date, Jeff? On the 19th of May, and we'll be sending you some information if you haven't already noted that event in your diary. The range of activities that Jeff leads for alumni based in Sydney are really vast, so look out for other opportunities to connect. with your fellow alumni and other opportunities to learn through the course of this year. So we have 3 prizes, Jeff. We've got the $3,000 voucher from MGSM to attend the Innovation Lab in late July. The quality of the programming that our colleagues at MGSM offer at the postgraduate level is really very high, and we're very grateful for them donating this prize. We're going to start, before we get to the Innovation Lab prize though, we've got some terrific Macquarie prizes, things that you can take away and use and or wear. So you all know, of course, that we have a new visual identity for the university, a rebirth of the Macquarie Lighthouse. Some of you have seen it around campus, those of you who're still studying. So we've got the bag. You can carry your all those...
it's not quite... Your gym gear.
Gym gear. It's not quite a briefcase, but it certainly can be very helpful for you in staying fit. So first prize, Jeff.
Oh, I certainly will. Yeah, that's not my card. And I'll give it to you, Drew.
Thanks, Greg. So we have Reno Doe.
Woohoo!
Good luck. Dive in. All right.
And we'll just have a little photo up. So. Thanks, Reno. Congratulations. And just in time for winter, we know you all carry Macquarie with you in your heart constantly, but we want you to have the opportunity to have Macquarie on your back. So we have a Macquarie hoodie. So in fact, we've got 2. I think we hope that you're probably a medium. So we have Kavish.
I think that'll be a perfect fit.
Good size.
And I think that'll be a good fit too. And one more of the hoodies.
Oh, one more.
Actually, this hoodie is actually for our alumni who have joined us via webinar. So hopefully they're not in a really hot climate. And actually, this is a great choice for, this is Andrew Cow in the US. So I know it's coming into summer, Andrew, but hopefully you'll enjoy this when winter comes around. And finally, our voucher to the value of $3,000 to attend the Innovation Lab at MGSM. Bridget. Do we have Bridget Tyquin?
Woohoo! Well done. What a prize.
Yeah.
It was a homemade business card, but it still had the...
Nice work.
See, she's actually not Bridget. Well done. That is an amazing prize.
Congratulations.
I also wanted to note that we have another colleague here we have many colleagues here tonight, but one other colleague who's actually here from the University Careers and Employment Service. We have Tyree Barnett. Tyree, where are you? Tyree, and Vicky. So Tyree and Vicky are going to be here through the networking session. If you have any other questions, of course, I know Nathan and Greg are going to be swamped, but Tyree and Vicky are also going to be available to talk about job search advice, about interview preparation, about how any particular challenges you're having with written applications. They can tell you about some of the ongoing services those of you who have graduated can continue to access through the Careers and Employment Service. So make sure you look out for them in the foyer afterwards. Thank you both. So that concludes the formal part of the night. As I said earlier, this is not the end of the evening, so please don't run away. Join us back upstairs for more drinks, more canapes, and please take the opportunity to go and speak to someone that you didn't know before tonight. This is your chance to build your Macquarie network. Greg's talked about how valuable it's been through his career to have that Macquarie network behind him. Some of the connections that you make through your alumni network, you have no idea where they might take you, what job opportunities they might lead, what business opportunities, what insights that you might gain into your career that you may not previously get if you don't take that first step and go and talk to someone you haven't met. So you know the skills to introduce yourself and create a positive first impression in that first 2 seconds. So please take the time to go and meet at least, let's say at least 3 people that you haven't met before tonight. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you taking your time to join us tonight, and we'll see you at the next alumni event.